Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn lookup function in Dataweave. Lookup function is nothing but it is used to call a flow and retrieve the resulting payload. So let's get started by creating a new project. I will say new Mule project. Let's name it as what could I name? Lookup function as the project name. I will say finish. Then I have this blank project with lookup function.xml. So I will just drag and drop one scheduler to understand it more clearly. I have this frequency. I'll keep the frequency something like that. So I have overall control on that one. And one data weave I want it. So let's drag and drop it. And one flow, let's say this one. So let me rename it to calling flow. Okay, then I will have some payload there, like another transform, or let me set a payload there. Also what I'm doing some string manipulation, so whatever the payload, and let me see, is inside calling flow. Yeah, so coming back to here, we have this data weave. So in this data weave, how we can call a lookup function. So we have a Mule module which has Mule runtime functions. So let's check what we have there. Colon colon. You can select it. Control. Click on it. So you can see this is a module which contains function for interacting with Mule runtime. And if you try to find our lookup function, this is our lookup function. So you can see it. The lookup function has basically three arguments. First is the flow name, second is the payload, actually what we are trying to send, and the third one is the timeout. Okay, we are going to see each one of them one by one. Okay, so closing that one, lookup function. Yeah, now lookup function, and this is basically going to call this flow. Okay, so you can say within the mule flow we are going to call another flow. Okay, so you can say flow name. So my flow name is calling flow. Let me just copy paste this. Calling flow, this is our first argument, flow name. Second is the payload. I want to say send as set as the payload as my name, Vijay. Okay, and the third is timeout, but I don't want to set it. So basically that is optional. Third argument is optional and these two are mandatory. So if I try to do it, I'm trying to concatenate my name with this so that I will have control over it. Okay, then what I'll do after the data weave, I'll put a logger simply to understand what is my final payload, and I'll say payload. Okay, now uh, if I debug this one, debug it, and let me just put a breakpoint here, let it get debug. It has debugged now, so we can see it has. So let's run this one, debug it one by one. It has calling Vijay. You can see the output Vijay is inside calling flow. It has concatenate my payload and it has enriched us, and let's see if it worked on logger. So on the logger part you can see it has printed Vijay is inside calling flow. Now the third argument. if you want to check if there is any timeout. Okay, let's check. If you don't return, if you don't write the third argument, I have let's wait for 22,000 milliseconds and see if it throws an error. So if it will throw an error if exceeds the timeout. So third argument is nothing but the timeout parameter for lookup function. So I will again, now you can see it has thrown an exception and saying exception while executing lookup, and cause is due to it has timed out. Okay, so I think you understood why it is there. So next you might think another question, right, which can be call a subflow with this lookup function. Let's try it. I'm just writing a subflow. Okay, uh, let's name it subflow calling. Okay, and I'm stopping my app and just want to pass the subflow name and pass something like set payload again there as well, as we can't keep it left empty, and just say inside subflow. Okay, and I want to concatenate the payload as well. Let's see this works or not for us. And let me copy the subflow calling name. I have copied that. Let me paste it here, subflow, and let's run again and let's wait for debugging again. Yeah, now it is deployed. Now run the scheduler and check if it is calling subflow. Yeah, so basically what error it is throwing, there is no component name subflow calling, means this lookup function can't call a subflow. So that was the main point. And one more thing I want to add, Mule doesn't recommend lookup function, as Mule Dataweave engine can cause multiple lookup function to be run in parallel, or it can cause it to not run at all. Mule recommends to use flow reference and call the flow, and whatever the result you are getting, set it into a flow variable. I think that makes a complete sense of this lookup function. I think that's it. Happy learning, guys.